something's wrong. And we all feel the emptiness like a big, gaping wound. A feeling of lostness, like the soul is floating in the abyss. The weight of existing. The aching, gnawing feeling that something is simply not right. A lot of answers are given for this feeling in our modern world. For a while, years, I believed most, if not all, of these answers. The problem is childhood trauma. The problem is that I need to be one with the universe. The problem is I'm disconnected with my essence. The problem is my hormones and my nervous system. The problem is that I need more money. The problem is that I'm not pretty enough. The problem is that I need to be famous. The problem is that I need new skincare or a new outfit or a new necklace. And it just goes on and on and on. And then the so-called solutions are sold to us relentlessly. The solution is healing your insecure attachment. The solution is to reparent your inner child. The solution is to love yourself and worship yourself as a goddess. The solution is to regulate your nervous system to nirvana. The solution is to become an entrepreneur and build a multi-7-figure business. The solution is to buy things. Some of these things help a little bit. Some are just purely lies wrapped up in beautiful, luxurious packages. We can all agree that something's very, very wrong. But what is it? When you don't understand the problem, what naturally follows are empty solutions. But the true problem is so simple that you miss it without spiritual eyes. The true problem is so true, it hurts. The true problem is so real that creation itself affirms it. The true problem is we are not close to God, but we were created to be. There's a separation, a big, huge gap, a vast expanse between us and God. Something somewhere along the way ripped up that connection. And there was a rupture that was so deep, it broke the fabric of reality. It's a big problem, and we can't outrun it. And it just hurts really bad. So what was it that put a crater in our relationship with the divine? How did this happen? How did we get here? And what can we do about it? A long time ago, God created a man, Adam, and gave him a wife so that he was not alone. They lived in God's perfect creation, the Garden of Eden, in pure innocence and joy. They were in perfect harmony with God and with each other. They reflected the image of God, meaning they had creativity. They had the capacity for rationale and reasoning. And they had no concept of what it meant to experience evil, suffering, death, terror, or fear. They even walked with God in the garden. God desired to partner with them and give them authority over the paradise that he had made for them to enjoy. In the garden, there was a tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. All of the garden was for them to enjoy, but there was one condition. They were commanded not to eat from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And God promised that if they did eat of it, they would die. After some time enjoying paradise with God and with each other, Adam and Eve were visited by a serpent. This serpent was cunning and subtle and spoke to Eve about how God was tricking them. He convinced her that if they ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, they would become like God. He told them God didn't want to share that status with them and that they would not die when they ate the fruit. Eve listened to the serpent and she ate. And then she passed the fruit to Adam, who also ate. But the moment they ate that fruit, something happened. The moment they ate, they were filled with shame, traumatized by the knowledge that they had just eaten. Their innocence was gone. They now had experienced firsthand the difference between good and evil. God had intended for them to live in the sweetness of peace and joy and purity. And now they had experienced what evil tastes like. It corrupted them instantly. Before they ate, they were naked and beautiful, unashamed and pure. Now they felt a visceral sense of shame over their nakedness. In a feeble effort to fix it, they gathered up some fig leaves to cover themselves, and they hid from God. But God was looking for them. He called out to Adam, "Where are you?" Adam confessed, "I was afraid of you, and I was hiding because I'm naked." "How did you know you were naked? Have you eaten the fruit I commanded you not to eat?" Adam, having broken the perfect relationship bond with Eve, blames her. "The woman you gave me," he said, "she convinced me to eat it." God asks Eve, "What have you done?" She blames the serpent. "He deceived me, and I ate." Now, the consequences come for their disobedience, and no one is exempt, not even nature. Death enters the picture. This rupture demands just repercussions. Paradise has been lost, and mankind has fallen from the highest of heights. The serpent is cursed to crawl on its belly. The woman will now experience difficulty and pain in birthing children. She will long for her husband, but he will rule over her. And the man, he will no longer work in perfect peace and harmony with the animals and with nature. Now he will work by the sweat of his brow, as thorns and thistles arise from the ground. With rugged difficulty, he will eat his food. And just as God formed Adam from the dirt, Adam will return now to the dirt in death. But there's something else here. It's the beginnings of a redemption plan. God says that there is coming a time where someone will come who will crush the head of the serpent. He tells them that Satan will be at odds with the woman, but that she is going to bring someone into the world who will set things right. God was devastated to think of Adam and Eve eating from the tree of life now, in their sinful condition. So he banished them out of the garden. But before doing so, he did something. Something that required the shedding of blood. He sewed a covering for them of animal skins. Their feeble attempt at fig leaves wouldn't be enough for the harsh conditions of life outside the garden. so he draped them in something more sufficient. Life outside of Eden is brutish and painful for Adam and Eve. Still, God provides. Adam and Eve have children. One of their sons kills the other in a fit of jealous rage. The murderous son is marked and exiled. The world is chaotic and filled with pain. A legacy of sin, broken relationship with God and humans continues. In the midst of it, the family dysfunction, the confusion, and the heartbreak, God preserves a particular group of people. He preserves them through attempted genocide and slavery and exile. A small nation birthed out of Abraham's line who represents a plan of ultimate redemption and reconciliation. He desired for this nation to be an example of God's restoration to the world. But they are fickle and rarely faithful. So to atone for their sins, God commands sacrifices of animals. The blood runs down the sides of the altar, and there are priests and temples and ordinances that make approaching God a fearsome thing. He works patiently with them over generations, raising up men and women of faith who walk closely with the Lord, despite being surrounded by corruption. He performs miracle after miracle for these people. And in each of these stories, we see a glimpse of something, of someone who is to come. And then, John the Baptist, a wild man, lives in the desert, eating locusts and honey. He prepares the hearts of the people for the one. He prophesies of someone coming who will change everything. A baby is supernaturally born in Bethlehem to an ordinary young virgin girl. He grows up in obscurity, and then he turns water into wine. In the temple, he reads the ancient prophecy and declares it is about himself. He performs miracles. He heals the sick and opens the eyes of the blind. He touches the outcasts of society. He demonstrates a deeper understanding of the Holy Scriptures based on what happens in the heart rather than how things look on the outside. He preaches that he himself is the door to reconnection with God. He declares that no one can truly know God or be close to God without him. I am the way, the truth, and the life, he says. And then he predicts his own death and resurrection. He is brutally tortured and murdered unjustly. When he is close to death on the cross, he cries out what we all feel in our worst moments. God, why have you forsaken me? God himself, the firstborn of the Spirit, he allowed himself to be brought low into humanity, to live as a human and model what it meant to truly walk with God. He was the sacrifice that allows us to walk into the holy places and be close with God again. After his death, his loved ones bury him in the tomb. And then 3 days later, his body is no longer there. He appears risen before the ones who love him and promises another gift. He's going away to heaven to be with the Father, but he's leaving something for them, the Holy Spirit, the same Spirit that raised him from the dead, the Spirit of comfort and of truth. Adam and Eve dwelled with God in the garden. Now, the Spirit of God will dwell in the people and give them power to testify of Jesus and to live for him until he comes again. He restored the very fabric of reality through his death and resurrection. He is the covering of animal skin that we needed to get through this brutish difficulty of being human outside of Eden. Without him, we are far from God, and it hurts so bad. And it's a hurt that cannot be mended with anything except for Jesus. He is the only solution. Why? Because with him, we are brought near to God once again, us and all of creation. In Jesus, the rupture is repaired 10,000 times over. In Jesus, we pass from the death that was brought into the world by sin into the life that was brought into the world by Jesus. Now, we who feel that gaping emptiness can be filled. We who know without a shadow of a doubt that something is wrong can be made right, can be made whole. In him, the separation is gone, and there is only pure intimacy, pure harmony with the divine, spirits joined together with the Spirit of God. In Jesus, and only in Jesus, the repercussions for the rupture are finally satisfied. So what's the true problem? The true problem is we are not close to God, but we were made to be. But God set a plan in motion from the beginning to draw us and all things close to him again. He himself closes the gap in Jesus. The true solution is so true that you feel it inside you when you hear his name. The true solution is so beautiful it changes the very nature of your being. The true solution is the body that was broken and laid down over that huge gap between us and God, the gap that nothing could have ever filled except for him. The solution is Jesus.